It's amazing how what I'm about to talk about is just lining itself up. And shout out to the Crimson Cure, aka Kendra D, on YouTube for actually doing a live stream talking about this bill right here. And she didn't get into the part about the actual bill itself. Like she was talking about how it got passed basically, and we knew it was going to get passed. And someone in her comment section was saying, or asking, or well, saying rather, I would like to know what's in the bill. And how ironic. And the thing is, I wasn't even going to look for what was in the bill because I was wondering the same thing. What does this bill contain? So I went on to Twitter and I saw a tweet that was retweeted onto my timeline from Phil's page of the African Diaspora channel. And he actually had a screenshot of what was inside of this bill in what you see on your screen right now. And we're going to go through this as best as we possibly can, because some of it pretty much sticks out like a sore thumb and you can go and finally comb through it. So it says, what's in the bill? The Wuvid-19 Hate Crimes Act. Senator Mazie Hirono of Hawaii and Representative Grace Meng of New York introduced a bill to combat the increase of anti-Asian hate crimes that would have occurred during the Wuvid-19 pandemic, during the Wuvid-19 pandemic. Wuvid-19, as far as we know, is about a year and some change old. The pandemic that black people have been facing in America has centuries on it. Let's see, centuries versus a little over a year. But guess who gets theirs first? But, if people were paying attention, and the thing is, I don't know how they couldn't, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were basically saying they weren't going to do anything for black people. They said it themselves in so many words, and she basically said it in a lot of words. And here we are now with this. So let's go through this. Hold on right quick, y'all. All right, y'all, I'm back. I had an important FaceTime call to take, so if that's what you heard in the background, that's what that was. So back to what I was talking about right here, and I didn't get far. I didn't even start reading into the bill yet. So the first line reads, direct the U.S. Justice Department to speed up the review of hate crime against the AAPI community. In case y'all don't know what AAPI stands for, it means Asian American Pacific Islander community during the pandemic. So now how they always say that there's going to be a study done with us to determine if something is a hate crime or they got to investigate. Not with them. They're gonna extradite it immediately. Remember how I kept saying what will constitute as a hate crime? I said they're gonna bastardize the hell out of this. Like, what constitutes as a hate crime when it comes to that? Because if what will be considered a hate crime for us, if someone says call us the N-word or anything like that or some kind of slur, if they got to study to determine if that's a hate crime, but with them all they got to do is be called a name that's not even considered to be a slur, then what is really a hate crime? That's why I said they're going to bastardize the hell out of that. But they're about to extradite it. There's not going to be a study. They're not going to wait on it and sit on their hands and knees. They're going to pump that thing out immediately. The next one says designate an official at the Justice Department to oversee the reviewing efforts. That means somebody is about to get a job and they about to get a nice, cushy, high-paying job, and they may not even be qualified for it. But because they're Asian or Asian descent, and that's their qualifier right there. They about to just give someone basically a free job that pays. It says the third one says require the U.S. Attorney General and the Department of Health and Human Services to issue best practices on how to reduce racially discriminatory language that was used during the pandemic. That's a very broad statement right there. Like, literally, they're compounding everything that happened in the last year into one bill. So basically, how Jeremy Lin came out and said that someone called him, I forgot what it was. It didn't make any sense. Had called him a name that was related to the pandemic. That's what they're saying right here. So if you call an Asian person Lil Wuvid or little C virus or whatever, not even calling them the actual slurs that we have heard them be called before. I'm not going to say it on here, but y'all know which ones I'm talking about. one begins with a C, one begins with a C, begins with a G. Y'all know what I'm talking about. One rhymes with spook, and the other rhymes with sink. We'll just leave it at that. Not being called that, but if they call them anything that will be deemed as a slur that has anything related to Wuvid, that's what they're deeming to be discriminatory language. The fourth one says, put the Justice Department in charge of coordinating with local law enforcement officers and community organizations to raise awareness about how to report hate crimes, including creating an online hate crime reporting system in multiple languages. This sounds like, you know what? It just dawned on me. I called this last year. Remember when that district attorney, whoever she is, Letitia James, I think that's her name. Remember how she had last year, in this month of last year, she implemented a hotline for Asians to call if they had experienced a discriminatory attack. And a lot of people had got on her about that, and then she switched it up and changed it to people of color. I said last year, in that, y'all can go back and look at that video, this is going to be the catalyst for what's about to come. And look at where we are right now. Look at where we are right now. They have a whole bill that's drafted just for them and only them. Not people of color, like they like to lump black people into. This is a way of now getting Asian Americans in particular out of the POC category and lumping them into their own space where it's just occupied by them. What else does this thing say? Put the Justice Department in charge of coordinating with local law enforcement officers and community organizations to raise awareness about how to report hate crimes. I'm telling y'all, but this is what they voted for. I told you I was going to be my slogan for the next 4 years. The last one says, provide aid to local and state governments to encourage more training on hate crimes for law enforcement. That one right there sounds like they about to just find some more terrorists to use to attack you know who. I don't have to say you know who is. We know who you know who is. Let me read that again. Provide aid to local and state governments to encourage more training on hate crimes for law enforcement. They are going to bastardize the hell out of this bill. They've already started. We've seen it already. If you even look at them the wrong way, hate crime, if you even yell at them yell at them, it doesn't even have to be the wrong way, just yell, hate crime. If you even sneeze in their direction, hate crime. If they do something to you and you defend yourself against them, hate crime, I'm telling you, it may sound ridiculous of what I'm saying right now, but watch and mark my words. They're going to implement a hate crime on almost every single thing. And going back to that Jeremy Lin video I did, I wouldn't have been surprised. I don't think he can do it now, but because it would be pointless. And I actually almost said it in that video. What if he actually would have tried to implement that it was a hate crime against him to not get selected by the NBA or picked up by them? And then he can use this thing of he's Asian. He knew not to say that. He knew not to say that because that would have literally hindered him in many more ways than it already has. Now, I'm going to say this. I wonder how far the Asian American community is going to go with this when it comes to dealing with PC. Because at the end of the day, they weren't the ones that signed this bill into law. Massa signed this bill into law. Not another Asian person. It's just that it's for them, but they didn't sign it. They didn't make it into law. They just introduced a bill. Introducing and signing a bill into law are two different things, because they could have introduced the bill and then that got signed. After all, how many bills of anti-black discrimination have been introduced but never signed into law. And but the thing is, look at how fast and how quick this happened. Blink one time and boom, it was there. And what happened in Georgia with that shooting, all that did was expedite this even further. It just sped it up. But again, a PC male did that. But again, I ask, was that a hate crime or was it just a mass shooting? Because we can say this, if we're going to do that, that means all the mass shootings that have occurred at these schools, would that be considered a hate crime against schools or against school students and people who work there? Just say schools. I'll just say schools. Would that be a hate crime then? Because it did happen on school property. That's where the shootings happen. I mean, let's be real here. I'm not saying if it is or if it isn't, but the guy who did the shooting did not come out and say that it was him hating on Asians. He didn't even allude and say that it was him hating Asians. Now, what Dylan Roof did, that was a hate crime. That guy had so many ties to various Dub-S groups and said how he didn't like black people. He said it himself on various groups and forums. And like I said, in my other video, these crimes or this hate crime has to go back and relate to Wuvid 19. And when the bastardizing part of this happened, they're going to go outside of the realm of this bill and try to label a hate crime on almost every single thing. I can already see that this is going to backfire on two groups of people. The Asian American community for sure, and PC. Reason being, Asian Americans are going to bastardize this bill, and the PC are going to feel the brunt force of it because they were the ones that signed it into law. And they were the ones that gave Asian Americans or Asians in general a leg up and by calling them or labeling them the model minority. I've even heard some Asians say that they didn't even like that title of model minority, but not many said it. It was way more that didn't say than those who did. But yeah, but I don't think I really have any more to say. But here's the bill right here. And y'all, you never saw it before. Y'all saw me talk about it right here. But like I said in my other video, this thing is going to have so many loopholes in it. And we just going to watch the sparks fly or watch something burn. I don't know what it's going to be, but this is not going to, I can already tell this is not going to end well. And watch, they're going to tweak the hell out of this. This is only just, in my opinion, this is only a draft. These bullet points that they have right here, this is only the beginning. They are probably going to add a few more bullet points to this thing before the year is out. I will be surprised if this is what they stick with. But like I said, someone's going to go outside of the realms of what this bill has, and they're still going to be able to have a hate crime thrown onto that person. Remember the two women that got into it with that Asian worker in that store a couple months ago? It went from a misdemeanor to a hate crime. The misdemeanor happened before this bill became introduced, but after it was introduced and before it was even signed into law like it is now, hate crime upgraded to a hate crime, which means this person could probably face now a year in jail instead of a couple of months. And that's going to look bad because now anything that has a hate crime attached to it is automatically deemed a felony. And that does not look good on your record. Even if you were a person that didn't say murder someone or rape someone or kidnap someone, a felony charge does not look good on your record. It affects your work status, employment. It messes with a lot of stuff. It damn near makes you a pariah to society. Now that's why people were saying that we need to, they said need to separate. But guess what? Guess what they're going to try to do? They're going to be slick with it too. They're going to say, they're going to try to put themselves around us. I mean, they already kind of have because a lot of their businesses in our communities, but they're going to literally run this thing into the ground. I see it happening. I see it for what it is. But y'all let me know what y'all think about this down in the comments, and I'll talk to you in the next one.